So here is a very quick overview of the recipe, and you can find all the details down in the description if you just want to move on. But if you'd like a little bit more information, I can tell you the story of this recipe that has so far taken me many months to figure out. So once upon a time, I didn't like oatmeal. It felt too quick. It didn't seem to fill me. I felt hungrier later until I realized if you put a scoop of protein powder in those oats, then yum's city, plus you're getting protein. Still not a big fan of sitting down to a bowl of oats. Maybe a texture? So I thought, what if they could be muffins? And plus, I sort of have a weird thing with flour. I generally just do best with sourdough bread, and I didn't really seem to want to work with oats and blueberries and chocolate, right? So I thought, well, let's try to use the whey powder and make it into a baked good and get really good morning macros, right? Get the protein, get the oats and the fiber. So I just thought without flour, it made more sense. So even though it took me a whole lot of really bad muffins as I slowly figured this out, it's fairly straightforward, and as long as you kind of follow along the same order, it's gonna be pretty good. As far as replacing anything, I don't know, because I did try a different protein powder that was a mix of types of powder, whereas the machine whey is 100% whey, and it worked a lot better, a lot fluffier. It really came together when I changed protein powders. So, do what you want, but it's risky. It's kind of a tentative balance here. So this is a mix I make. I have around the house because I use it in my coffee in the morning as well. And it's just very simple. Just mix all the pumpkin spices together and have a little bit on hand. I don't really have specific ratios. I just kind of guessed that I put down in the recipe for more details. But definitely a whole teaspoon of pumpkin spice makes it super yummy, especially with the blueberries and chocolate. And I want to go ahead and mix up all the dry, and that's in order to preserve the blueberries. And I use frozen blueberries because if I use fresh ones and mix them up and cook them, they turn everything purple. Whereas if I use the frozen, they kind of stay intact, and they're like these little pockets of sweet and juicy within the muffin. It works out really nicely. So mix all dry first, and then throw in the frozen stuff in the wet, and kind of try to fold it and be kind of gentle on the blueberries as much as possible but you still want to get a good mix, right? Because you want to get little treats in every bite. So once I add the milk, that's when I turn my oven on to preheat. And I do that because then it gives me the time that the oven takes to preheat for these ingredients to sort of mesh together and become one and yummy. So I did that by mistake one time because I forgot to turn the oven on, and then I realized, wow, it's so much better like this. So yeah, give a little time. Maybe it was just 5 minutes, but I just like 5 to 10 minutes, whatever it takes my oven to heat up, makes it a lot better. This is a silicone tray that I happen to have. I like the size of each heart. Doesn't have to be hard, obviously, but definitely use like silicone or straight metal with spray. Do not use paper. I did that once and it was very bad. And plus, if it's smaller, it's not as good either. They need to be bigger than a cupcake. They like this one is maybe 1.5 size of cupcake. I don't know. It's just right this size. So whatever. And I do sort of pat it down a little bit, and they do rise just a tad, but not too much. You can just divide them as best you can. So they go in for about 15 minutes, and I did a lot of experimenting there, but I found 15 gives a nice crust on the bottom, but then also keeps inside nice and moist, because it was real tricky to get them so they'd be kind of fluffy and not just this dry brick of protein powder. So lots of trial and error to get to this point. So I let them cool about 5 to 10 minutes, so they're easier to handle, and they kind of stick together better. So I take them out immediately. They tend to want to fall apart. So just give them like 5 minutes, and then kind of, move the container around, get them loose, and then you can just pop them out. And they are sticky. They always have a napkin, but they're good. I like them best about 5 to 10 minutes, or to 15 out of the oven, and best reheating I have found is nice and slow in an open cast iron pan. And they are really best the same day, because in the fridge overnight they get kind of mushy because the moisture. You can kind of save them by real slow in the cast iron pan, but I just like better just cook them every day, because they're fast and they're easy and they're so much better that way. So this is another variant where I just use all chocolate, and they come out much more gooey and sort of that rich bittersweet with the blueberry. It's also a really nice combination.